Yo, what's happening, people? What's good with you, world? This is your boy, JWillDoIt, coming back to you again for another episode of Man Cave Talk. And we up in the Man Cave today, man. It's a rainy day today, which is really a perfect time to discuss our topic today. Obviously, we're going to be speaking about mental health, but our specific topic is going to be depression. And rainy weather like this, believe it or not, can trigger depression in a lot of folks. It used to trigger it in me before I went and got the tools that I need to help. So let's get started with today's episode, man. We're going to dig deep into this mental health thing, man, and try to see if I could just reach somebody. I know I received the help that I need. I'm continuing that help. I still do counseling and therapy, and I just want to lend that same care and love and help to anybody that's willing to listen, man. If I can only just save one life, I've done my job, you know what I mean? So let's get to it. All right, let me go in my book here so we ain't just bouncing around. All right, so mental health. What is mental health, man? We hear it a lot of times, man. I know when I was younger, man, if somebody said you was crazy or you mentally messed up in the head or mentally ill or whatever, it had a real negative stigma. Like, it was almost fighting words, you know what I mean? Because you didn't want to be known as being crazy. I know at Burke County High School, where I graduated high school at home of the Bears, let's get it, class of 1998, you know what time it is. There was a hall called the 400 Hall, and without me going too deep into it, anybody that went to Burke County know about the 400 Hall. And it used to be, it was very childish at the time, but it used to be funny, quote unquote, to laugh or either joke about being on the 400 Hall, like literally to the point where you would literally hide or run if you had a class down that hall because you didn't want to be associated with that hall from a mental standpoint, right? So you kind of, even at home, you know what I'm saying? Even in the black community, in the neighborhood, it was just always a negative stigma around mental health. And believe it or not, there's several forms of mental health, and you don't have to just be crazy per se to deal with it. Myself, I battle with mental health, mental illness, and we're going to talk about one of the areas that I, to this day, struggle with, which is depression. But first, I want to give you the definition of mental illness so people can start to try to remove that negative stigma that we got on mental illness. So mental health is a person's condition with regards to their psychological and emotional well-being. I'm going to repeat that again. Mental health is a person's condition with regards to their psychological and emotional well-being. It didn't say nothing about you being crazy. All right. So mental health basically has to do everything to deal with your condition of your psychological and your emotional well-being. All right. So what we're going to talk about today is depression. All right. So we're going to go ahead and get into that. I want to discuss depression. I'm going to give you the definition of depression first. Depression is a mood disorder that causes a persistent feeling of sadness and a loss of interest. A persistent feeling of sadness and a loss of interest. All right. Now, my first battle with depression would be 7 years ago when I lost my mom. Rest in peace to my mom. That was my very first battle with depression. And when I say I went into a deep, dark hole, and I stayed there for all about 5 or 6 years. During that period of time, I attempted suicide twice. Thank God I was unsuccessful. But that was a tough time. I mean, for me, I'm the baby boy, the only boy, and me and my mom had a very, very, very special relationship. So to lose her at the tender age of 56, I didn't know how to deal with that. And plus, I had never, ever thought about life without my mom. You know what I mean? But it happened, and I didn't know how to deal with it. So we're going to go to a quick break. And when I get back from the break, we're going to get right back on this topic of depression and how I dealt with it then, all right? So we'll be right back after a word from our sponsors, all right? Yo. All right, people, we back. We are back in the man cave, and we're going to finish talking about depression. Now, before we left, I was discussing my first bout with depression came about because before losing my mom, I dealt with a lot of other things, but I never really let depression hit me. Never hit me. See, I've always one of those where, man, you know what I mean, I'll let certain things roll off my back and keep it trucking, even if it hurt. I knew how to suppress it without getting depressed. You know what I mean? But something triggered and happened when I lost my mom, where I completely lost it. I completely just lost the will to live, the will to want to do anything, go anywhere. I remember, man, the first 2 weeks, my mom passed. I think I lost like 35 pounds, 40 pounds, something like that in 2 weeks from just not eating and sleeping. And then you put the alcohol and drugs into play when I started to try to kill myself. Shit. Like I'm lucky I'm alive. I mean, and I figure I'm alive so I can tell my story so that I can help somebody else. But there were days for years where I didn't want to get out of the bed. And it started to affect my wife and children. And they went on that roller coaster ride with me for 5 or 6 years. And during this time, as time is passing and I'm not getting the help that I need, I'm getting worse. I kept telling myself, okay, as time passed, time heals all wounds. Time heals all wounds. Well, that ain't necessarily true, man. Because I'm going to be honest with you, folks. I'm going to be honest with you. Time ain't here this because I still hurt. You know what I mean? It's just now I know how to deal with the hurt. I know how to be in the moment, process that hurt, feel it, deal with it, and move forward. You know what I mean? Where at first it would get me in this deep depression, dark funk where I just want to die. I don't want to eat. I don't want to talk to nobody. I don't want to laugh. I don't want to play. I don't want to have sex. I don't want to do nothing. Period. Just I want to be fucked up and die. That's all I wanted. You know what I mean? For years. During the time I was filming Country Boys, I was battling depression real bad because it was tough. You know what I'm saying? I was filming that for my mom, and every scene, everything that I did reminded me of her. And while everybody thought everything was all Gucci and smiles, man, shit, I attempted to take my life doing Country Boys. You know what I'm saying? It was one period where I went missing for a minute because I literally was finna take my life. You know what I'm saying? And even my family don't know that one. I think it's 1 or 2 people I shared that with, but I'm sharing that with y'all. You know what I mean? So things was rough, and then not to mention, come February, my dog said, man, passing for cancer, and that's something that just reopened wounds. You know what I'm saying? And then shortly after that, I lost my first cousin, Bernard, and this whole COVID thing was in the middle of this whole COVID thing, so couldn't even have a funeral for Bernard. Well, I couldn't attend it. You know what I mean? So depression started to set in again. You know what I mean? And finally, after years and years of suppressing this depression and my feelings and not dealing with it, and now I had these series of events where I lost 3 or 4 people in a short period of time. It all crashed and it hit me, and I had an emotional breakdown. And depression, I passed the depression stage. It was a pure emotional breakdown because I just couldn't deal with all the hurt, the pain, and I just didn't want to be here no more. But I knew that I had to be here because I have family and wife and kids that depend on me and love me. You know what I mean? So those are just some of the battles. Some of the things I battle with, of course, also not being able to see my boys, and we're gonna speak on that. I'm gonna need a whole episode for that because we're gonna speak on that and how that has affected my mental health and how that can affect anybody's mental health. But we'll talk about that in depth. But there's a lot of things, from not being able to see my kids to my mom being gone, my best friend of 32 years gone. Close friends died from COVID. It's just a whole lot of stuff that I've had to deal with, man. But then I finally got help. You know what I mean? And I'm just so glad. And shout out to White Sands, man. I appreciate that. You know what I mean? So much. So when I get back, we're gonna talk about some. All right, so when I get back, we're gonna talk about meditation. You know what I mean, and prayer. So you guys just hold on for a second, and I'll be right back. All right, people, we're back, and we're gonna be closing up soon, man. We're reaching that mark. So I want to say something from next time too. But what I want to do, man, I want to speak on a couple of things that help me with my depression these days: prayer and or meditation. Anybody can do it. Anybody can meditate. I'm telling you, if you've never tried it, just try it. You sit in a quiet place. You try to focus on one thing and one thing only. It's not easy, but there's no right or wrong way in doing it. And the fact that you're focusing so hard on trying to focus on that one thing, you'll be surprised, man, where meditation will take you mentally. You know what I mean? And you wake up and you come out of it, man, and you just feel lighter on your feet. You feel relieved. You feel good. You know what I mean? So meditation is something that I do. I've renewed my faith in the Lord, and I asked God to forgive me. I was hurt and angry at God, and I acted out. You know what I mean? But eventually, like any other situation, God pretty much showed me that I can't do it without it, and I can't. So prayer, meditation, I read. I've actually picking up new hobbies, teaching myself new things. I have this huge picture in my man cave that I look at, and it used to call of me and Cedric. And before getting the help I needed, when I looked at it, man, it just would send me right back into a phone. But now I talk to it, man. You know what I'm saying? With a smile on my face, man. It's my homie right there. I love him. I miss him. And I know he'd be proud of me, man, because I know I remember when I went and seen him at the hospital the last time I saw him, and I broke down crying, and I remember the first thing he said, and he wasn't really talking much at the time, but he looked at me and he was like, "Don't cry, what you crying for?" You know what I mean? He was like, "Don't do that." That was him. You know what I mean? So I know he'll be proud. So it makes me feel good to know that I've gotten a handle on this depression and this mental health thing. But I won't get comfortable. I know this is a lifelong battle. I know there are going to be other trials and tribulations, other hard times, grief that I'm going to have to deal with. But at least now I have the tools in my bag to deal with those things. You know what I mean? Instead of me sitting in my funk and crying or not wanting to do this, what I'll do, I'll get up and I'll go and hug my kids. I'll get up and I'll go and find my wife and I say, "Hey, babe, I don't feel too well." You know what I mean? And she knows how that goes, so she'll plan something or we'll go get something to eat or go for a walk. Also, I get me some good medical grade bud and smoke me a nice little blunt. That calm me down a lot, especially when I'm anxious and have anxiety. I smoke a sativa strain when I'm depressed to try to pick me up a little bit, give me a little energy. But for the most part, since returning home from getting my help, I haven't dealt with depression. I've dealt with some sad moments, but what I do, I sit in those sad moments and I feel it. I be sad, I cry, whatever I need to do, and I deal with it, and then I move on. You know what I mean? Because that's pretty much all I can do. And then I pray and meditate, and then I try to just find something to do to just get my mind busy, because sometimes I can be easily distracted. So if I just go and just start doing something, I'll forget that I was even sad or down or depressed. So those are just some couple of things I want to do. But before I leave, man, I want to leave y'all with this, man. Just know, everybody on this green earth has a purpose. Never go through life thinking you don't have a purpose, because I felt like I didn't have a purpose. But we do have a purpose. I found my purpose, and I'm going to share my purpose with you guys. You know what I mean? I'm going to love, and I'm going to give, and I'm going to teach on how to beat this stuff. You know what I mean? My purpose in life is to lead. You know what I mean? And I've always known that. Know your purpose, learn your purpose, you'll learn what path you need to take. Keep faith in God, love all, love yourself most importantly. And if you need a friend or anybody to talk to, your boy J Will Do It in the Man Cave is here. Till next time, this is J Will Do It coming from the Man Cave. Holla.